Christian Wilkins. The name alone brings a spark of hope to Raider Nation. But lately, that hope's come with a shadow, a lingering injury that's raised more questions than answers. Now, there's finally some clarity. According to a leading sports surgeon, Dr. Deepak Chona, a Stanford and Harvard-trained medical expert, there's good news on the horizon. He recently analyzed Wilkins' situation, and what he shared might be the best update Raider fans could have asked for. Wilkins is dealing with a Jones fracture, a tricky injury for a defensive lineman who relies on explosion, leverage, and every ounce of lower body strength. But according to Dr. Chona, the refracture rate is extremely low. That means when Wilkins returns, he's likely to stay back, fully, stronger. That alone is a massive win. Too many players never bounce back from serious injuries. One setback becomes a spiral, and they're never the same again. But this sounds different. Now, yes, there's still a worst-case scenario, and it's worth mentioning, not to spark fear, but to understand the full picture. Dr. Chona said the only real concern would be if the bone isn't healing, which could require revision surgery. But here's the thing. If that were the case, it likely would have already happened. So far, that hasn't been the case. The Raiders reportedly expect Wilkins to be ready for training camp, and while that optimism comes with the usual off-season caution, there's real reason to believe it. We've seen the walking boot, we've seen him move in and out of rehab phases. And yeah, it's made fans nervous. But based on the medical analysis, the path forward is more reassuring than ever. This isn't about hype, it's about facts. And the fact is, Christian Wilkins might just be ready to anchor this Raiders defense the way we all envisioned. There's no dancing around it. Christian Wilkins is essential to this Raiders defense, not just important, game-changing. When he's on the field, everything shifts. The line gets nastier, the pressure gets heavier, the defense becomes something opponents fear. We saw glimpses of it last season, just 5 weeks of action, and it was clear. Wilkins is a force, and that's why every bit of injury news matters. Every update becomes a headline. Every rehab step is under the microscope. Now here's the key. If Wilkins needed another surgery, he probably would have had it by now. Let's be real. NFL medical staffs don't wait around when something's not right. If there was a major concern about that foot not healing properly, the Raiders would have already pulled the trigger on a procedure, but they haven't. That tells us something. This team is watching him closely. He's working out, getting evaluated, progressing, carefully, but surely. The staff isn't rushing it. They're building him up slowly. When the rehab hits a wall, they scale it back. Let the foot rest, let the bone get stronger, then ramp things back up again. That's a smart plan, a championship plan. It shows the Raiders believe in his recovery. It shows Wilkins is fighting to get right, not just patched up, but whole. The fact that he's out of the boot now, that's massive. That's not something a team does if there's even a shred of doubt. It means the foot's stabilizing, the muscles are rebuilding, and the timeline is intact. Even Dr. Chona emphasized this. With 3 months still before the season, Wilkins has time. Time to train, time to strengthen, time to hit the field in week 1 at full speed. And that worst-case scenario we keep hearing about, the bone not healing, if that were happening, we wouldn't be seeing progress. But we are. Real, steady, visible progress. Sure, Wilkins missed part of minicamp. He may not have been there for every rep, but that doesn't mean setback. It means smart, strategic recovery. Every day he trends upward is another sign that this defense might just have its engine fully revved by September. And Raider Nation knows, if Christian Wilkins is right, everything changes. Christian Wilkins may not have taken the field during minicamp, but don't mistake that for a setback. He was there, watching, engaged, staying connected. While not in pads, his presence mattered. The real takeaway? There's still confidence that he'll be ready. Every indicator, from his removal from the walking boot to consistent medical evaluations, points toward one conclusion. Christian Wilkins is on track to return at full strength by the time training camp kicks off in late July or early August. This isn't just hopeful thinking. Medical experts, including Dr. Deepak Chona, back it up. The refracture rate for this kind of injury is low. In fact, according to Dr. Chona, 80% of players heal without complications. And there's no reason to believe Wilkins isn't part of that majority. A perfect example? Derrick Henry. He suffered the same injury and came back just as dominant. That's the path Wilkins is on. And that's what should have Raider Nation fired up. Before the injury, he was borderline unblockable. Wilkins and Max Crosby were starting to look like one of the most disruptive duos in the league. The Raiders may not have clicked as a full unit last year, but Wilkins stood out every single snap. This season should be different. The offense is expected to take a leap. The defense now has PeteCarroll's fingerprints on it, paired with Patrick Graham's system. Add in new talent, better health, and a renewed sense of urgency, and the Raiders could turn the corner. But Christian Wilkins has to be part of that equation. His presence alone can tip the scale on any drive. Now let's shift gears, because there's another name surfacing in Raiders rumors. All-Pro safety, Justin Simmons. Cody Benjamin has linked Simmons to the Raiders, citing not only cap flexibility, but also a reunion with Joe Woods, Simmons' first DB's coach back in Denver. Combine that familiarity with PeteCarroll's influence and the Raiders' need for a veteran presence in the secondary, and it makes a lot of sense. The Raiders already have young corners like Darian Porter making waves, and while there's been injury-related turbulence in the past, Patrick Graham's defense has often found success even with under-the-radar players in the secondary. But safety remains a concern. Right now, the Raiders are leaning on Isaiah Pola-Mao and Jeremy Chinn, two versatile, physical safeties who thrive near the line of scrimmage. They're athletic, strong, and aggressive. But they're also similar. And in today's NFL, you need at least one guy on the back end who can anchor the deep coverage. That's where Justin Simmons could come in. Smart, experienced, proven. He's exactly the type of presence this secondary needs. If the Raiders want to take the next step on defense, especially in a division stacked with elite quarterbacks, then a move like this could be the one that tips the balance. Isaiah Pola-Mao is a force near the line of scrimmage. He blitzes with speed. He finishes tackles. The sack on Justin Herbert last year? Textbook. When he's in the box, he's a weapon. But playing free safety is a different assignment, and that's where the concerns begin. In coverage, Pola-Mao has shown inconsistencies. He's taken poor angles, missed reads, and failed to cover the deep third when plays broke down. One critical example came when Jack Jones jumped a route, baiting the quarterback, but Pola-Mao didn't rotate over the top. What should have been a highlight turnover became a missed opportunity. And the truth is, free safety demands a different skill set. Fluid hips, elite range, anticipation. That's not Pola-Mao's game. He thrives in traffic, not in space. He's built to disrupt near the line, not protect it from behind. That's where Justin Simmons enters the conversation. Even at 30, Simmons brings what this defense needs: instincts, leadership, and range. He'd instantly become the Raiders' best player in the secondary. And with cap space available, this is the kind of move that aligns with both short-term goals and long-term flexibility. Simmons knows Joe Woods' system. They work together in Denver. He fits PeteCarroll's vision for a high IQ, disciplined defense. He would immediately bring veteran presence and playmaking to a young, hungry unit. And make no mistake, this would be a value signing. If Simmons was commanding top-tier money, he'd already be signed. Instead, a 1 or 2 year deal in the $8 to $11 million range could be enough. That's a small price for a leader who can transform your back end. Now let's talk offense, and a stat that turns heads. Since 2022, Geno Smith leads the NFL in deep ball accuracy on throws of 20-plus yards, according to Pro Football Focus. Yes, you heard that right. No quarterback has been more effective stretching the field. That unlocks a world of potential for the Raiders' new-look offense. They've got speed in Dante Thornton Jr., who ran a blazing 4.34. They've got explosion in Trey Tucker. And Geno Smith has the arm to hit both of them in stride. 40, 50, even 60 yards downfield. But it won't stop there. Ashton Jeanty can run wheel routes out of the backfield. Brock Bowers, with his physicality and body control, is a perfect target on deep crossers and seam shots. And when you give a quarterback like Geno those kinds of weapons, who can win on the boundary and over the middle, the deep game becomes a serious threat. That's the difference between this year and the last. Past Raiders quarterbacks, whether it was Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, or Gardner Minshew, often hesitated to take those 50-50 chances. Geno won't. He's already shown he can throw with anticipation, placement, and confidence. This offense might just become one of the league's most explosive, especially if the deep ball becomes a weekly weapon. Quarterbacks in today's NFL are coached to trust the read. Coverage dictates the throw. That's the formula. And for many quarterbacks, it works. Brock Purdy is a good example. He sees cover 3. He knows where the ball should go. It's by design. That approach makes him efficient, it makes him predictable, and it makes him safe. Same was true for Derek Carr during his time in Las Vegas. He played the percentages. If a blitz was coming off the edge, Carr would dump the ball to the flat. 3rd and 11? No problem. He'd still throw short because it was what the coverage called for. He wasn't reckless. He was obedient to the playbook. That's what he was coached to do. And that's what most NFL quarterbacks are coached to do. Read, react, don't freelance. But there's another type of quarterback, a quarterback who doesn't just see the coverage, he sees the matchup. If he has DK Metcalf against a weak corner, he doesn't care what the coverage says. He'll take the shot. That's Geno Smith. It's what separates the good from the great. Joe Burrow does it with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Josh Allen does it when he decides to break the play and make one of his own. And Geno Smith does it too, especially when it comes to the deep ball. That's why he ranks number 1. 1 in the NFL on throws of 20-plus yards over the past 3 seasons. And that's not just a stat. It's a mindset. It means receivers like Michael Mayer become legitimate red zone weapons. Mayer's jump ball ability is rare for a tight end. His body control and timing, especially on back shoulder fades, make him a nightmare near the goal line. And with Geno throwing him the football, expect more contested catches and more highlights over defenders. Reports out of minicamp are already promising. Mayer is getting open. Dante Thornton Jr. is flashing deep. Trey Tucker is winning in space. And Geno? He's hitting them in stride. It's early. Nothing's official until September. But if early camp chemistry carries over, the Raiders may finally have a vertical offense that matches their personnel. With Brock Bowers, Mayer, Janty, Thornton, and Tucker, this group is built for speed, separation, and deep strikes. And Geno Smith might be the quarterback who finally unleashes it.